have paradigms and roadblocks that prevent us from excelling, and they can be real or imagined. Welcome to Beyond Bricks, a podcast that will give you the ability to break through those walls. Here's Dr. Nathan Unruh.
Welcome, everyone. Nathan Unruh here, and I'm here with a good friend, Chris Wasmund, and you're in for a treat today. Chris has a vast experience in the banking business, so we're going to touch on banking. I don't think it's something we talk about enough, so we're going to talk about banking. But we're also going to talk about a subject that's near and dear to my heart, which is leadership. And I've got to know Chris really well, and I think he's got some amazing nuggets for you on what leadership means to him and some things that you'll be able to take away from this conversation. So Chris, thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
I just want to tell everybody about you. Where are you from?
Live in Sioux Falls, been here for 30 plus years, from Worthington, Minnesota originally, but I kind of claim both as a hometown at this point.
Okay. So you born and raised in Worthington?
Yep.
And so how long were you in Worthington before you came to Sioux Falls?
Moved over in 7th grade, so we kind of split childhood.
Okay. Well, talk about your professional, where'd you graduate from? Where'd you do your education? And then talk about from up to this point where you're now with Plains and what you do for Plains.
Sure. So I graduated from Washington High School here in Sioux Falls in 95, so a while
You're a warrior.
back. That's
You're
right.
a warrior.
That's right. Went on kind of a tour of colleges, couldn't figure out what I wanted to do exactly, started pre-med, ended up getting a job in a booming industry in the 90s, subprime credit cards, specialized card services. Found I had a pretty good talent for collecting and talking to people on the phone, gathering payments. I was in collections, and also figured out if you treat people right, you can usually get the reaction you want. Decided not to go back to school and went to work full-time there.
So that had to give you a ton of experience.
Gave me a ton of experience.
Collecting money's not easy.
It's not easy, it's not fun, but
Yeah.
again, you figured out what worked in a hurry, what didn't work, and it really came down to creating that right experience even for those people who were late on payments.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you went from in that industry, and then when did you start with Plains?
Started with Plains about 5 years ago. I was with another community bank for about 4 years before that. Before that, I was in credit cards all the way through, with a couple little adventures in between.
Okay, so what's your role at Plains right now?
I'm Chief Operating Officer, so I've got pretty much anyone that's not customer-facing and even a few of those that are customer-facing.
So Plains Commerce Bank talk to me about the bank. So tell me about its footprint. Because Chief Operating Officer, it's a big deal. So you got to deal with a lot of people, make sure a lot of the processes are working. And based upon your previous job was having to collect money,
Yeah.
right? You're still dealing with money.
Yep.
But you want to make sure that all those things are going well so the clients can have, or customers can have a great experience. So talk to me about, first of all, Plains Commerce. Tell me about the footprint of Plains Commerce.
We're pretty much East River, South Dakota.
Okay.
We do have a mortgage office out in Rapid City, and we do mortgages nationally through our Windsor program, but East River, South Dakota is really our footprint.
And so how many people work at Plains?
Plains right now is at it's over 400 people, with a
Okay.
large chunk of that being our mortgage division. Traditional banks probably 150.
Okay. Tell me what Plains Commerce is known for. What makes Plains special?
Well, in Sioux Falls, we're known for mortgage. Chris
Yeah.
Vincent, Mortgage Monday. I mean, everybody knows Plains Commerce Mortgage. Our roots are really ag, and then in Sioux Falls, again, are really all of our branches. We've gotten in pretty well with construction, real estate, commercial real estate.
Okay. So if you stay on banking, we're going to get to leadership in a moment, because with having over 400 plus people, you got to learn how to lead people, right? And develop leaders and become a better leader yourself. But before we get there, we'll get there, I want to talk about banking. Mm-hmm. So I've had a number of banking relationships in my lifetime, and I'm always trying to understand the banking industry. So why does one person choose one bank over another? What advice would you give to the listeners of when you're choosing a bank, why choose this one versus that one? Because there's a lot of choices, right?
I think there's over 55 different banks in Sioux Falls today.
Wow.
And you have the nationals that you can go with. I think you got table stakes. Interest rates, what are you paying in interest? What are you earning in interest? What fees do you have? Once you get beyond that, we're really a commodity. Every bank in town has about the same product. So I think you have to find the person you enjoy working with, that you feel cares about you and your well-being, making sure they're doing what's right for you, and making sure it's a good symbiotic relationship.
Well, I think in a bank like Plains, you also can make decisions fast, right?
Yes, the whole exec team is local. All the decision makers are a phone call away if they're not right here, and we're able to pivot, same day in lots of cases.
And why do you like working for Plains? Because you've been there how long now?
5 years.
5 years. So why do you like Plains so much?
I like that we're nimble. We're willing to go out and do things that other banks don't do. I mean, not many banks went out and did mortgage nationally, with 15,000 different brokers maybe over the years. I like that we will do things for customers that are out of the box. Some people want to do ACH different, so we'll build a new process. We're willing to build software. We're willing to look at other options. We just really live outside the box.
Yeah, and I know your vision at Plains is banking beyond boundaries.
Yep.
And you guys are living that out. How do we bank beyond boundaries? How do we bank beyond boundaries in relationship? How do we develop a better experience? I love how Plains has been so developed to developing the team. I love how your passion for getting better individually as a leader, so you can help lead all those hundreds of people at Plains. That's special about bank.
Yeah, I think it is.
That's special about organizations, period.
Yeah.
Not all organizations will make that level of investment in their people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think our board has done a great job in allowing us to go out and spend time and treasure on developing staff. I mean, I think they realize that we're only as good as our people.
Yeah.
And we want all A players.
Yeah.
I've always said I'd rather have a lean team of A players than a whole bunch of average players, and I think we've really done that here at Plains.
Yeah, you sure have. Okay, so let's talk about how do you develop A players. Okay, how do you find, recruit, select the right type of people? Then how do you develop them? So in your years of experience of everything you've done, you've been able to see a lot of great leaders. You've to read a lot about a lot of great leaders. So from your perspective, Chris, what are some of the key attributes of great leaders?
I think they're curious. They constantly want to learn. They're going to ask you, what do you do at 5'4", right? They probably don't ever want to be in the line of work you're in, but they're interested in how it works, because there's little tidbits of everything we've experienced that we can apply, whether it's in banking, mortgage, trash picking up. There's just things you learn along the way to do better.
Well, I think as you say that, curiosity is a big deal. You remember that little monkey, Curious George?
Yes.
Yeah, I used to love that little monkey, and I think we can learn a lot from that. Because as we get older, we don't stay curious.
Agreed.
Especially with developing relationships. What's the old adage? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's being curious.
Yeah.
Asking the right questions, loving on people, trying to understand them versus just trying to sell them something.
Exactly.
Okay, so curiosity is one attribute. I think it's a great attribute. What's another one?
Be accountable. Hold yourself accountable first, and your staff is going to see that. Your coworkers, your colleagues. So if you can hold yourself accountable, it'll be more natural for them to hold themselves accountable. It makes your job easier.
So accountability, big one. I always say that in leadership, the hardest person to lead is ourselves.
Yep.
So how do you learn to lead yourselves? So areas where it's been tough for you in the past to stay accountable.
For me, it's been staying focused on the big items, right? There's 1,000 things going on, and sometimes you gravitate towards the things you're most comfortable with, which not always the most important things. My background is deep in IT, so for me it would be natural to jump right into the technical side. Got to force myself to realize we've got really talented people that can handle that without me. I can be there for guidance, but focus on that customer experience. How is it affecting people at the end of the line versus how do we find a technical solution?
So what I hear there is time management.
Yep.
How do you become better accountable to the 168 hours we all get every single week? So how do you stay accountable to doing the highest value activities that can help you lead the organization? Am I hearing that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I subscribe to the flow methodology that you teach. I grab my journal every morning. What are the goals? What are my top 5 items? What's my number 1 thing I got to get done today? Look at my calendar and say, okay, is that meeting necessary? Is it a productive meeting, or is it really just a catch-up meeting? And you move things around and make sure you have the right amount of time to get things done that are beneficial for the bank or for yourself.
So, okay, I hear great time management. I hear being curious. I hear accountability. What's some other attributes?
I had put some notes down here. I think as a leader, you have to be able to read people to a certain degree, find those little cues that tell you what their personality is like. Are they asking you questions when you're interviewing them? Are they truly curious? It's really finding people that, fit a role or that can complement somebody that they're going to work alongside of.
Beautiful. So who's some great leaders in your life? Who've been people that you've watched, either they've had a direct influence on you, or you've read about them, or maybe it was as a kid growing up? Who are some people that really pressed into you some of these very attributes you've talked about?
Sure. So I was at a company called Total Card for about 10 years, and the CEO there, Greg Tickner, really impressed upon me being entrepreneurial. This guy has got his fingers in, I'll bet, a dozen businesses at any given time. Dodd-Frank happened in 2008. We had to back out of credit cards. And we went into pretty much anything on the telephone. We were building out lending platforms for jewelry stores to get business. We were taking textbook orders. We were trying to make the process of getting seasonal sausage out of Wisconsin better, 24/7, just things like that. So he was one of them. Guy I'm still friends with, Troy Clavel. He got me into IT back in the late 90s and really showed me how to run an efficient department, what to look for in people, especially in the technical side of things, and then just how to deal with people. IT, they only want you around when there's a problem.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of recognition unless you're fixing something. So just learning to deal with just being in a support role helped a lot.
So some of those things that you learn from those people, especially, being entrepreneurial, which really what I heard that as you described it is if there's entrepreneurship is finding a problem, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to solve that problem.
Yep.
Sometimes entrepreneurship gets all these different definitions. Well, the reality is all it is, there's a problem and I got a solution, or I'm going to find a solution for it, right? What I hear in the IT world is that you've had to learn how to manage people.
Yes.
So what are some of the key elements that you've found in how to lead people, how to encourage people, how to empower people? Because that's a big part of leadership. So talk about that for a moment.
You have to give people enough rope to fail. And sometimes you have to let them fail a little bit. We can put some guardrails up, but let people go out and try it their way. It might be different than what you think. As long as they're getting to the right solution at the end, let it go that way. They feel ownership, they feel pride, and they'll be there. They'll run through a wall for you if they think you're there for them like that.
So so as you look at routine, now you talked about using the flow planner.
Yep.
So all leaders that I come across, even if they think they don't have a routine, they have a routine.
Yep.
What kind of routine do you have?
I'm pretty boring. I get up in the morning. Usually, I check my email quick. And then you do the morning routine, hop through the shower, get ready for work. Try to get to work before, at least most people. You don't beat everybody, and dive in. See again. Check your calendar. What do I have to have done? What are the big things? What do I have this afternoon? I have to prep for, and then just. For me, I don't like being late. I try not to cancel things. So it's, do I have any conflicts?
You only cancel with me?
Just you, yeah.
No. So I think you said a word there that you don't even recognize it, but I think it's a big word, and I think it's brilliant, and I don't want the listeners to miss it. I'm kind of boring. Well, I believe success is boring. Because it's really about consistency. I've talked to lots and lots of leaders, and it's the consistent things that they do day in and day out that really make them great leaders. So it's okay to make success boring. Don't you agree?
Yeah, make it repeatable.
Yeah, so sometimes we don't even realize you got a routine, but you've made your routine boring, but that boring routine is what creates success.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So, okay, so if you look at the next 5 or 10 years in what you're doing and really looking at the bank relationship you have and the number of people that you're leading, what do you see on the horizon? How are you going to continue to bank beyond boundaries and fulfill that vision at Plains Commerce Bank?
I think it's going to be diving into different sectors of the financial world. For us in community banking, we're going to take a leap deeper into private banking. You know, we're going to try to create a concierge type experience for some of our higher net worth individuals. It won't be the same as what we've seen before, but it'll be, you know, that single point of contact. Anything you need, you'll be able to call your guy, your girl, and they'll lead you through, hold your hand through the whole thing if you want that. They'll handle it for you if that's what you want. You know, they're probably not the person doing everything, but, you know, they are your guide to anything banking. And then we're looking at other services we can provide nationwide. We're going into ACH origination, you know, providing that platform for other financial services companies. There's a couple local players in that, but think Plaid, you know, we're going to try to get into that space where we've got a lot of technical expertise, and it's stuff that through the credit card years we kind of perfected, and so we take some of that knowledge and apply it a little differently, and I think we can make a splash there too.
Yeah, so what I love about that is you're going to bank beyond boundaries.
Yeah.
You're not going to do the same things that you've always done because the industry's changing, is it not?
Margins are compressing. We got to find other ways.
Yeah. So as you look at the overall landscape of the banking industry, you say something, and I want you to pull this apart because until we're having this conversation right now, I've never asked this question. And I think I know the answer, but I want you to talk about it. We're a community bank. What does that mean?
I think it means we're a neighbor in the community, that we've got the same ideas of what we should be doing in the community as Joe Blow down the street. We want to give back. You know, we want the kids to have good schools. We want them to be able to have lunch. You know, we want the local baseball team to, you know, have uniforms, and, you know, kids to be able to be kids and have a good time and just give back.
Yeah, so that's a big distinguisher. So because we see a lot, it's community bank. So if you're not a community bank, what are you?
A national.
And that changes the way that they invest in the communities. That's what I'm hearing.
I think it does. You know, we're not going to see Chase on the back of a T-ball uniform, or, you know, I'm sponsoring the band to go to New York this year, where, you know, we want to enable people in all of our communities to do the things they want and have the things that we should have to make good communities.
You might see them on the front of a arena, though.
Yes, yeah.
Right, so it might be things like that. But here's what I have found is that when you start researching about business size in this country, 80% of businesses have less than 100 employees. So isn't that fascinating?
It is.
And that is where really the juice comes from in the financial sectors, no matter the communities you're in around this country. They are small businesses.
For sure.
And I just, myself, of being an owner of different small businesses over my career, my relationship with my community bank and how I see them invest back in the community is a big deal.
It should be.
Yeah.
It's sharing those same ideals that you have as a small business owner.
But I think that should help people as they're making decisions.
We hope so.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, we'll close the conversation here. As there's a lot of people that will look at you and say, okay, hey, he's a chief operating officer of a bank that's very successful. And you heard a lot of what Chris said on his path to get to where he is today. What are things that, you know, there's a lot of people listen to this. They don't look at themselves as a leader. They don't look at themselves as a key person that can really have an impact on the world or on their little circle of influence within the world. What advice would you give somebody who's aspiring to be a better leader or a leader and don't see themselves as a leader?
I think it's making the transition from being a producer yourself to being a force multiplier. As you want to become a leader, start making, your neighbor better. Make the 3 people that you work with better. Then you make the other departments that you interact with better, and you'll get recognized. And eventually you'll rise to the top.
Brilliant. So what I hear there with Chris, be others directed. If you want to succeed, be a force multiplier, like you said, but you become a force multiplier by making an investment in others, seeing the best in others, empowering them, and equipping them.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So thanks for being here. As you listen to this, I think Chris gives a lot of thoughts for us as we look at how we choose our banks, how we choose those relationships. We don't have that conversation a lot. In fact, I've never had a conversation in this format about that. But there's a lot of things to think about because our banking relationships are a big deal. Also, as Chris talked about leadership and being more curious and being accountable, just some great attributes as you looked at how can I fine-tune my own leadership. So again, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
You bet.
We all have paradigms and roadblocks that prevent us from excelling, and they can be real or imagined. Welcome to Beyond Bricks, a podcast that will give you the ability to break through those walls. Here's Dr. Nathan Unruh.